What's up, dudes? HW here. Just enjoying this really squawky Charvel, and today we're talking about how to transform your sound. Completely how to transform your sound, your tone, your whole thing on the Tonex. And we're gonna do it by using the EQ. So I've got my EQ right here, check it out, and I'm on the very free, always free. We're gonna do a clean thing and a dirty thing. Let's start with the clean thing. The very, very free 65 Deluxe Reverb V clean, and you heard it right there, sounds like this. With a humbucker on the neck, sounds like this. All right, so cool. We've got a humbucker sound, we've got a sound here, but really what I want to focus on is the sound of the amplifier. What do you hear when you're listening to this amplifier? How does this tone strike you? With a humbucker? So to me, I hear two things. I hear a fairly ample and pushed mid-range, and I hear a nice sparkle on top. Let's start with this. I want to make this thing warm and real, like cozy, and something that's gonna like sit back in the mix. And I want to do that on the humbuckers as well as the single coil. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna look at I'm gonna take this presence. I'm gonna look at my EQ. I'm gonna take this presence. I'm gonna roll it back. I'm gonna leave my depth kind of where it is. I'm going to take this treble and I'm going to roll it back. Now this up here, because we have a Q in our mid range, that's our sign that it's it's basically a peak or some sort of a hump, because this controls how wide the hump is. The Q is how wide the whole hill or valley that you're creating in your EQ is. Here's where the peak is going to be, the hertz, what frequency we're targeting, and then here's the amount. So we have the amount, what frequency we're going to center it on, and then how wide or how narrow we want to make it. So, but when we don't have one of those controls, we can make an assumption, and this is true of any one of your modelers, not just Tonex. It's true of Kemper, it's true of anything. Anytime you see this sort of like a Pultec style EQ or just a rack style EQ where you have you see some hertz and some bass and treble and middle and Q. When you don't have the Q, you can assume it's a shelf. And so that means from this point up, we're going to raise everything. So right here on this 2400, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to raise it up, and I want to really get some of those higher frequencies. So I'm going to take like 35. Now let's go 32, why not? And I'm going to lower them. I'm going to lower it, and I'm going to push this mid-range, and your Q is always standard at 0.7. So let's just leave it here and just point it up a little bit. And now let's see how warm we have this thing. Here's the humbucker. That's warmer. That is warmer, brother. Okay, presence up, treble up, kind of sounds like we put the mic, right on the cone or something. I'm going to pull those both down and we're going to get warmer. We want to get warm, warm, warm. What you got to understand here is if you want a warm sound on the guitar, just go ahead and up the mids. Don't be afraid to do it because we're not really going to get too warm. Watch this. We're not going to get too warm. On a brightish pickup like this humbucker has some brightness to it. That is lush, man. That is big and lush and juicy. I like that. That is going to sit real lovely back here, and you'll be able to get this sort of thing. You'll be able to do this sort of thing. You'll be able to do that rhythm thing, and it's just going to sit way back there and be nice and warm and lovely. And you really can't go too much. I mean, it's really, look, I'm going to pull this presence all the way down. And even on the single coils in the back, we're still going to have a lovely guitar tone, you know? Back at the humbucker. We've made this thing sound like a 335, you know? That's a lovely tone. And it doesn't look like a tone that would come from this guitar at all. You know what I'm saying? That is beautiful. I love that. I love that. Now, could we do the complete opposite? Could we not make this, could we make this a big amp, like a bigger amp, but can we scoop the mids, bring it way down here, boost this presence up, boost this treble up, and I'm also going to lower this hertz, because I want to grab more. I don't just want to do the presence higher. I want to boost the bass, the depth. I want to boost the bass, and I want to cut those mids out. And I even want to boost my treble up, but I want to boost it not just up at the present frequencies, which, by the way, that presence is probably acting at the 4 or 5K kind of range, right? So what I want to do is let the presence do the upper stuff, but I want to come down here and I want to grab, some 2400, 2500. What's the default on this? The default's 19. That's low, but you know what? Let's do that. I raised it up a little bit just because I don't know. It seems really low. But I'm going to pull this mid-range down and 850. Let's do that. Where does this usually go? 750. I like that better. We're going to pull it down there. So we're getting rid of, we're not going to have a lot of low mid-range here. We are not going to have a lot of low mids, and that's what we want, because we want to make this thing kind of sound like a twin. And now it's going to sound like this on that humbucker. Now you've got this thing. Let me go to the single coils. Watch this. We've got like you hear that low thing coming in. I'm going to put on a little modulation, and you're going to hear this. This is going to remind you of something, you know? Man, it's got like a real, you know, on the neck. Got that low depth kind of thing in, and that to me has a much more twin-like sound. I might pull this down a little bit, and I might pull this depth down a little bit, and on the bridge, on the neck. That is a big guitar sound now. Come on, that's a huge guitar sound. That is a cool sound. I dig that. Okay, that's really cool. Let's go to something dirtier, right? Okay, let's go with 2-3. 2-3. This is the second channel of the Jose. The Jose, it's the Friedman Jose kind of amp here. And this is what I call the second channel. So it's a little vintagey, but it's getting kind of sizzly. All right, and I've got everything up and down here. So let's do this. Let's cut the mids out. Let's boost the low end, and let's boost the treble. Let's actually cut some of the presence, and we'll leave that in there. But biggest thing is I'm cutting some mid-range down. Now it's going to sound like this. So we're trying to go for a more modern scoop thing. So I'm going to scoop this. I'm actually going to up the treble and stuff. I don't want a ton of like 5K, so I'm going to move this up to where I want it, which is I want more of that like higher sizzle, like the 3K. Now listen to this. Woo, dang, I dig that tone. Okay, that's more scooped. Now let's make it more full. Let's make it more like vintagey, right? All right, now I've reset the chain, and now I want to do something very different. I want to take my original sound, and I want to actually boost the mids. But I want to boost the mids up at more like 1,000 area, and I want to boost these up, and I want to make it. I'm gonna leave the Q alone. I want to boost it up a little bit right here, and I'm gonna cut some of the bass, cut some of the depth, and I'm gonna leave everything else the same. I'm actually gonna push the treble a little bit, and now we're gonna get this sort of thing. That is cool, and I'm gonna tell you why. That's like a squawky Strat kind of version because I had the single coils. Here is the regular humbucker. A lot of people would go, oh, you definitely got, he's got a tube screamer. He's got a Klon on that. He's got something on that, right? That's because what do those pedals do? They carve off a little bit of bass, right? So they make our sound sometimes tighter where you can go. But anyway, if we reset this thing, if we reset the chain, we kind of get our thing back, and we just get the normal, you know, like here's the neck. And the bridge. It's a thing. It's a thing. And you can do a ton. Don't be afraid to get in here and completely break this EQ. Just break it, man. Do whatever you want. You know, scoop this out, roll this up, give yourself a little of that. Just like, you know, do the whole... I mean, it's just all there, man. Really dump the mids if you don't like them. Mids, get out of here. Get out of here. And if you have no mids like that, then you throw in a tube screamer, and you got this sort of thing going. You know, do whatever you want, man. There are no freaking rules. HW.